Lucky Boys Podcast.
We have friends that are doctors, and whenever we talk about this subject, especially at the beginning of COVID, they were very careful and at times not really even give us an answer something that we can take home. And I think that was a scary part. Why is that?
I think you just answered it. It's scary. I mean, in that fear, you don't want to say the wrong thing. But part of my medical training in the specialty that I've done, the essence of my training was to be decisive, because time is not your friend in emergency medicine. So even if you could be wrong, because you have a lack of information when they come into your door, you may know nothing about the patient, what they ingested. The EMS may not know what the patient was there for, and you have to be decisive in doing something. They could be dangerous, could be not, but you don't have the privilege of knowing. And in that time, with as you get by yourself more time with the moves that you make, you then start to learn more information, and you learn how to adjust and be flexible and undoing things that you may have, like, so I gave glucose to someone that could be hypoglycemic. I don't have a finger stick or something because the finger stick was down, and then we finally get a finger stick and the glucose was high. So you give a little insulin, and whenever you learn how to adjust, and then you find out they actually ingested this poison, and you give the antidote. Even you gave another antidote, you then correct for that and whatnot, because you don't have that privilege. It's allowable, because in that moment, it's better to do something than to do nothing and let the patient die when looking for information. So that's my training. And there are other doctors who are specialized in things that I'll never be able to understand. There are so many other doctors who are way smarter than I am, who may not have had the training in emergency medicine of being decisive and saying something like, this is what I know now, and this is what I feel, and this is what makes most sense. Sometimes it's better to hold back, and it's part of their training to hold back and let the information come in before making a diagnosis, because they have the luxury of time. It could be a chronic diagnosis that all they have to deal with are patients with chronic diagnoses that they've had for years and have plenty of time to figure out the right one before giving something that's too dangerous, like House. I always watch House, and I'm like, well,
Dr. House.
Yeah, I was like, come on, this guy, he literally almost kills him 3 times before you find, that's bad medicine.
He's trying to figure that shit out.
So my answer to them is, when it comes to a pandemic, when you don't have the luxury of time, and people are listening to you and depending on you and your expertise to make a decision, especially your own patients, I ask them, are you protecting yourself or protecting your patients by not giving you an answer? And that's what I'm most afraid of, that they're more trying to protect themselves rather than to protect their patients, even though at the time it can go both ways. Totally understand the fear of it, but the lack of doing something. And this is funny, because coming from emergency medicine, we always do everything first and ask questions later. But part of the art of emergency medicine is don't do something, just stand there as well, is that art of balance. And by not saying enough for too long, it creates doubt. Yes. And actually has more of a profound negative impact than the positive that you're trying to do. We only judge others by their behaviors and only ourselves by our intentions. So they have very good intentions, but the behavior might actually hurt somebody in the long run. And I have to ask from that intention, is your intention truly trying to protect yourself or other patients? And it's valid. Sometimes they just think, oh, I'm trying to protect my patients by not giving the wrong answer. But then the patients that have created doubt, because you had doubt, you pause, they pause. And when it comes to getting the vaccine, by the time they finally get around to it, because you created so much doubt, they got COVID and they killed their grandmother.
Does that go against their oath?
People really, I want to say that I
bring up my line there.
I bring up my oath every shift. When people ask me to do things I don't feel comfortable doing, I say I have an oath to do no harm. But I remember doing that, and you asked me that. I remember yesterday during the shift, another doctor was like, "Wow, I forgot that we had an oath."
What is the actual oath?
To do no harm.
That's it.
No, it's a whole long Hippocratic oath that's about
But to sum it up, it's to do no harm.
To do no harm. We do it. We say it once during medical school. We say it once during residency, and then I see plenty of doctors who've forgotten that they taken an oath, that they do things that hurt the patients, even with good intentions.
Yeah. I see that. Yeah. They have good intentions, but a lot of them can be jaded. Someone very close to me had a stroke, a brain aneurysm, and it was a very tough time for me.
Yeah.
And from the nurses to the doctors, I can see it was just another day in the park. It was just, they were just laughing, smiling around, and I'm here. I'm not sure if this person who I love dearly am I going to lose them forever? And they were it just didn't have that level of seriousness that I felt that moment needed. Literally right outside the waiting room. So I guess, what was that room? The hospital. The nurses and doctors are literally right outside, and they're laughing, making jokes, just talking about random stuff while I'm here in a completely different emotional state. I don't want to see other people walking around so loosely and happy. To me, I want them trying to figure out how to help this person. This person's in pain right now, and they can't feel certain parts of their body. And I had enough. I literally flipped out on the nurse and the doctors, because the doctor looked like he hadn't slept in days. He looked like a zombie. His eyes was bloodshot. He was talking to me with the longest blinks ever, like 5-second blinks. I mean, he sounded very intelligent, but it also sounded like a script that he memorized, right? So, and he's going like this, yeah, well, this and that, this, and we need to, and yeah. So right there, that's when I lost it. I just said, hey, no, let's go. I know you do this every day, but this is different. Like, this is me. I'm not playing that. And I went off. I was like, this person here is out here smiling, talking like, trying to handle me. I don't want to be handled. I want you to help this person. Don't handle me. Help this person. That's why we came here. And after that conversation, let's just call it that, they immediately 180'd. I started feeling more attention. I started seeing them caring that she was in pain and addressing that pain, making her feel more comfortable. They started giving more up-to-date information instead of just leaving me hanging there with a bunch of question marks in my head. What's going on? What's going on? What's going on? X-rays are, there's the blood's growing. I was like, what does that mean? What does that mean? I don't know. Like, you got to explain it. Is that bad? Is that really bad? And at that point, moving forward, everything was just perfect. I mean, from the calls, I would get phone calls, I would get text messages, I would get so much information where I finally felt, how come they couldn't do this at the beginning? Is it something that happens regularly with doctors and nurses where they get jaded? Because also this happened to another friend of mine. Well, this was more with the receptionist, and I had to go at the receptionist and let them know this is not a game. This is somebody's life. Where they were just kind of texting, having fun, and didn't really care. And I said, no, we need to go through right now. We're not waiting here. This person's going to die. And they were just, they looked like they couldn't care less.
First of all, I'm sorry you had to go through that experience. It's not something that people should go through. It's unfortunate that it happens every day. But secondly, you're not wrong, but neither are they. Every day of my life is everyone else's worst day of their lives. So, think about that. And in order to have them survive, I'm not throwing any of my colleagues under the bus. Obviously, they can always do better. We can always do better. And I'm sorry you had to go through that, and I wish you deserved better. But the issue is, we had earlier said in the podcast, you're speaking to a community that was committing suicide at a rate that was twice the national average before a pandemic. They don't want to be rude or dismissive. But when we try to talk about our problems, nobody wants to listen. So we have to manifest that in other ways with among other colleagues with dark humor in order to survive, so we can take care of the next person, because that's better than us all killing ourselves so that you have no one else to take care of your loved ones when it's your turn to get sick, when their turn to get sick. It's a lesser of two evils, because there is a system that exists that is destroying us and has been destroying us no matter how much we try to raise the alarm bells. But it's to a community that usually put others before ourselves. When it's finally time to finally stand up for ourselves, to like crack a joke, to get by to the next person, it's better than us just giving up and walking out in the middle of a shift, because then that means people will die. We can't exist in the system. It was unsustainable to begin with. And what do you expect when you walk into a room and there's a pandemic now, but there's no PPE for any of us? We knew this. Of course we knew this. For the longest time, it took us 20 minutes to find an N95. Then a pandemic goes on. We raised the alarm bells for years. I mean, that's the environment that we worked in. Every day of our lives is everyone else's work their lives, and we're not really fully protected, let alone compensated, because they're laying us off after, not laying me, but like the royal we of healthcare workers, even before a pandemic rolls around. So and also our colleagues are killing ourselves.
Right, but I think there's a problem personally for people when they start losing humanity.
Oh yeah,
that's what it felt like.
Indifference is the worst casualty.
Yeah, this person was just another number, another guest that came in, and they're just trying to get it turned around, and they're trying to get through their day.
Indifference is a sign when you should stop working. I agree with that.
And I understand that, but as a patient, as someone who loves someone, or have loved ones in hospitals, that's not good enough.
I agree. I totally agree.
Yeah. Let's speak to they're tired. Right. I understand he's tired. I understand.
Not just tired. They're morally injured.
Right. Morally injured. And when you don't get enough sleep, you don't do your best work. That goes for every industry in terms of morale and being focused. I get it. How do we improve that?
The system has to change.